My name is Clara, I'm 39 years old and a single mom to my incredible 16-year-old daughter, Lily. My younger sister Chloe and I have always been two halves of a whole, so when her wedding invitation showed up, we were both thrilled. But that thrill evaporated the moment I realized only my name was on the invitation, not Lily's. When I called Chloe to ask about the oversight, her answer knocked the wind out of me. "Sorry, Clara, the wedding is strictly adults only. No one under 18 is allowed." I couldn't wrap my head around it. My own sister, shutting out her niece. Before I get deeper into my story, I'd love to know where you're watching from, and please hit that subscribe button if you've ever been let down by the very people who are supposed to love you without question. Chloe and I grew up in a quiet, middle-class corner of Portland. With a 6-year age gap, I fell into the role of her protector pretty naturally. Our parents were good people, but they were always working. My dad as a city planner, my mom as a respiratory therapist. That meant I was the one walking Chloe home from elementary school when I was in middle school. I'd make sure she did her homework, fix her an after-school snack, and be the audience for all her playground dramas. I vividly remember one afternoon when Chloe was 8 and I was 14. A group of mean girls had been teasing her about her thick glasses. When I found her crying in her room, I saw red. The next day, I found those girls at recess and let them know, in no uncertain terms, that if they so much as looked at my sister the wrong way again, they'd be dealing with me. The bullying ended that day. The way Chloe looked at me, you would have thought I'd just saved the world. As we got older, that bond just got tighter. When Chloe went on her first real date at 16, I was her stylist, her makeup artist, and her anxious guardian, waiting by the phone until she texted that she was home safe. I was her cheerleader for every major life event, her high school graduation, her acceptance into college, and the devastating first heartbreak that followed. When I met my future husband, Mark, at 22, Chloe was my biggest fan. She threw me a beautiful bridal shower and stood beside me as my maid of honor when I got married at 23. She was there through every false alarm during my pregnancy and was the first person, other than Mark, to hold Lily when she was born. I'll never forget the look of absolute wonder on her face as she cradled my tiny daughter. Life threw us a major curveball when Lily was about 5. Mark started working later and later. He grew distant, cold, and always had an excuse to miss family dinners or weekend outings. I eventually uncovered the truth. He was having an affair with a colleague. The divorce was a brutal, soul-crushing process. Mark packed his bags, moved to the other side of the country with his new partner, and left us with minimal financial support. His contact with Lily dwindled to a birthday card and a brief, awkward phone call twice a year. Those first few years on my own were a desperate scramble. I was a paralegal by day and picked up server shifts on weekends just to keep our heads above water. There were nights I'd just lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, paralyzed with fear, wondering how I was going to cover next month's rent or buy new sneakers for Lily's perpetually growing feet. During that dark time, Chloe was my lifeline. She'd watch Lily on weekends so I could take on extra shifts. She'd show up with bags of groceries when my bank account was empty, and once paid our heating bill in the dead of winter when I was faced with an impossible choice. But more than the material help, she was my emotional anchor, constantly reminding me that I was stronger than I thought and that we would get through this. Lily and Chloe forged an unbreakable bond in those years. Chloe was the fun aunt who organized epic water balloon fights in the park, bought her ice cream for dinner, and slipped her little just because gifts. When Lily was 8, Chloe taught her how to bake her legendary snickerdoodles from scratch, a Saturday ritual that became sacred for years. They'd spend entire afternoons in our small kitchen, dusted with flour, their giggles echoing through the apartment as they perfected their recipe. For Lily's 11th birthday, Chloe took her on a special shopping trip for her first grown-up party dress, followed by a fancy high tea downtown, making Lily feel like the most important person in the world. Then 2 years ago, Chloe met Edward. He was a partner at a major corporate law firm, and he came from a family with old money and deep roots in the city's high society. He was everything our blue-collar family wasn't: polished, wealthy, and accustomed to a life of exclusive clubs and galas. As Chloe's relationship with Edward deepened, her presence in our lives began to fade. The Saturday baking marathons with Lily ceased. At first, she had plausible excuses: a demanding case at work, a last-minute weekend trip Edward had planned. But eventually, the excuses stopped, and the silence just stretched. I started noticing subtle shifts in my sister. Her wardrobe was suddenly filled with designer labels, and her hair was always flawlessly styled. She'd casually mentioned dining at restaurants where the appetizers cost more than my weekly grocery budget, and talked about vacations to places I'd only ever dreamed of. While a part of me was glad she seemed happy, a knot of worry tightened in my stomach about the chasm growing between our worlds. Lily noticed it too. "Why doesn't Aunt Chloe come over for cookies anymore?" she'd ask, her voice small. I'd offer vague explanations about adult life and busy schedules, not wanting to tarnish her idealized image of her aunt. But I saw the flicker of hurt in her eyes every time weeks went by without so much as a text message from Chloe. I just kept holding on to hope that this was a phase, that once she and Edward settled in, she'd find her way back to us. Family is family, after all, and our bond had always been strong enough to weather any storm. The wedding invitation arrived on a crisp Tuesday afternoon in early June. I remember the day perfectly because Lily had just aced her final exams for 10th grade, and we were planning a celebratory pizza and movie night. The envelope was impossible to miss among the junk mail and bills. It was made of thick, creamy cardstock with shimmering gold calligraphy and a wax seal stamped with the initials C and E. Lily asked, her face lighting up as she recognized the elegant script. "Looks like it," I said, carefully breaking the seal. Inside was the most extravagant wedding invitation I had ever laid eyes on. The paper felt heavy and luxurious, and the gold foil script announced that Chloe Marie Peters and Edward William Davenport III requested the honor of our presence at their union. The ceremony was set to take place at the Regent Palace Hotel, the most opulent venue in the city, followed by a reception in their grand ballroom. "We're going, right?" Lily asked, her eyes wide as she peered over my shoulder. "I need to figure out what I'm going to wear." I couldn't help but smile at her pure excitement. "Of course we're going, sweetie. It's your aunt's big day." It wasn't until much later that night, long after Lily had gone to bed, that I took a closer look at the invitation. My eyes scanned the fine print at the bottom, and my heart sank. It read, "Ms. Clara Peters and guest." There was no mention of Lily. When I called Chloe, she picked up on the third ring, her voice sounding rushed and distracted. "Clara, I was just about to call you. Did you get the invitation?" "Yes, we did." "It's absolutely stunning, Chloe. Lily is over the moon about the wedding." A beat of silence hung on the line. "Right. About that, Clara," she started, her tone shifting. "Edward and I have decided to have an adults-only wedding. No one under 18. The words felt like a punch to the gut. "What are you talking about? Lily is your niece, Chloe, not just some random kid." "I know, and I love her, but Edward's family is very traditional. They're contributing a huge amount to the wedding, and they have certain expectations about the level of sophistication. Children can be, unpredictable, and we just want the day to be perfect." "Lily is 16, not 6, I argued, my voice rising. "She knows how to conduct herself at a formal event. She's not going to be doing cartwheels down the aisle." Chloe let out an exasperated sigh. "It's not just about behavior, Clara. The venue is very high-end. We're having an open bar, and frankly, Edward's family doesn't think these kinds of elaborate evening events are appropriate for young people. It's an adult celebration." I was speechless. My sister was barring her own niece from one of the most significant days of her life because her fiancé's family thought it wasn't appropriate. Desperate, I tried to find a compromise. What if Lily had a role? She could hand out programs or help at the guest book. That way, she could still be a part of it. We've already hired professional staff for all of that, Chloe replied, her voice turning icy. Everything is planned to the minute. We can't just add people now. Suddenly, I heard Edward's muffled voice in the background, followed by Chloe whispering something. When she came back on the line, her tone was completely different. It was final. Look, Clara, this isn't a negotiation. Edward and I have made our decision. The invitation is for you and a +1, which means an adult guest, not Lily. I really hope you can respect our wishes for our special day. Before I could even process that, Edward himself took the phone. Clara, this is Edward. I understand you're disappointed, but Chloe and I have a specific vision for our wedding. It's a sophisticated affair, and we've invested a considerable amount to ensure every detail is perfect. We simply can't make exceptions, not even for family. I'm sure you understand. The condescension in his voice made my blood boil, but I held it together. I understand completely that it's your wedding, Edward. What I don't understand is how my 16-year-old niece doesn't qualify as family on a day that's supposed to be about family coming together. Well, he said, clearly irritated, that's your perspective. Ours is different. The invitation stands as it is. We hope to see you there. He handed the phone back to Chloe, who mumbled a quick goodbye and hung up. I just sat there, phone in hand, completely stunned. How was I going to tell Lily that her aunt, the woman she idolized, didn't want her at her wedding? How could I explain that she was being shut out because she wasn't sophisticated enough? The thought of the crushing disappointment on my daughter's face was a physical pain in my chest. This wasn't just about missing a party. It was a rejection from family. It was being told you're not good enough. After that call, I sat at my kitchen table for what felt like an eternity, a storm of emotions raging inside me. Anger at Chloe for caving, hurt that she'd so easily prioritize her new life over us, and a deep, gnawing anxiety about how this would shatter Lily. I weighed my options. I could go to the wedding alone, leave Lily with a sitter, and plaster on a fake smile. I could try to reason with Chloe again, maybe get our parents involved. Or I could refuse to attend a celebration that deemed my daughter unworthy. The next morning, Lily came bouncing into the kitchen, phone in hand. Mom, Aunt Chloe's wedding is going to be insane. I was looking at pictures of the hotel. They have chandeliers bigger than our car. My heart plummeted. I had wanted more time to figure out how to tell her, but this was it. Honey, can you sit down for a second? I need to talk to you. Her smile faded. What's wrong? I took a deep breath, trying to choose my words carefully. I explained the adults-only rule as gently as I could, framing it as a decision from Edward's family, trying to shield Chloe from the worst of it. Lily's face fell, but she immediately tried to hide her hurt. Oh, well, that's okay, I guess. It's their wedding. They can do what they want. Are you sure you're okay? I asked, my hand covering hers on the table. She nodded, but her eyes were glassy. Yeah, totally. It'll probably be boring anyway with all those fancy people. Then she looked up at me, and her next words broke my heart. Did Aunt Chloe say why she doesn't want me there? Did I do something? Absolutely not, I said, my voice firm. This has nothing to do with you, sweetie. This is about Edward's family and their strange ideas. Your Aunt Chloe loves you more than anything. She nodded again, but I knew she didn't believe me. I already bought a dress, she whispered. That blue one we saw at the mall? I saved up my babysitting money and went back to get it. I wanted to surprise you. A wave of white-hot anger washed over me. My daughter had spent her hard-earned money on a dress for an event she was now banned from, an event hosted by the aunt who used to be her whole world. Can I be excused? Lily asked quietly. I have some studying to do. It was summer vacation. She had no studying to do. I nodded, knowing she needed to be alone. After she left, I called Chloe. She sent me to voicemail twice. On the third try, she answered. Her voice clipped. Clara, I'm swamped with wedding stuff. Can this wait? No, it can't, I said, my voice eerily calm. I just wanted to let you know that Lily and I won't be attending your wedding. Silence. Then, what do you mean you're not coming? Is this because of the adults-only thing? I thought we sorted this out. We didn't sort anything out. You and Edward made a decision to exclude my daughter, your niece. I can't support that. Chloe's voice became shrill. So you're punishing me? This is exactly why we don't want kids there. It always turns into drama. This isn't about drama, Chloe. This is about what family means. Lily isn't some random kid. She's the girl you helped raise, and now you're telling her she's not welcome at one of the biggest days of your life. You're making this all about you as usual, she snapped. It's my wedding day. If you can't respect that, then maybe it's for the best that you don't come. I agree, I said quietly. If my daughter isn't welcome, then neither am I. I hope you have a beautiful wedding. I hung up before she could say another word. My hands were shaking, but a strange clarity washed over me. I had made the right choice. The fallout was instantaneous. My phone lit up with texts and calls. My mother called, aghast. Clara, you have to be the bigger person. It's one day. Hannah will get over it. That's not the point, Mom, I tried to explain. The point is she's being deliberately excluded by her own aunt. My father was more blunt. Stop being so stubborn. Are you really going to ruin your sister's wedding over this? Even my Aunt Carol texted to call me selfish, but I stood my ground. This wasn't about being stubborn. It was about showing my daughter that she deserved to be treated with respect, that family love shouldn't be conditional. That night, I heard muffled sobs coming from Lily's room. I knocked gently and went in. I sat on her bed and just held her. I know this hurts, I whispered. It's okay to be sad. I just don't get it, she cried. Why doesn't she want me there? We used to be so close. People change, sweetie, I said, stroking her hair. Sometimes they get lost, but it's not your fault. She looked up at me. Are you really not going because of me? I'm not going because we're a team, I told her. If someone can't accept both of us, they don't get either of us. That's what family means to me. She hugged me tight. Thank you, Mom. Holding my daughter, I knew without a doubt that I'd made the right decision. The wedding was still weeks away and the family pressure would only get worse. But my mind was made up. Lily and I would spend that day creating our own celebration, while Chloe celebrated hers without us. The day of Chloe's wedding arrived, picture perfect. A brilliant blue sky, a gentle breeze, the kind of day brides pray for. As I sipped my coffee that morning, a pang of sadness hit me. Despite it all, a part of me wished I could be there to see my little sister get married. So, what's on the agenda for our special day? Lily asked, trying to sound cheerful as she joined me. I smiled. I was thinking we could conquer that new hiking trail we've been talking about, then grab lunch at that amazing burger joint downtown and finish with some serious retail therapy. We've earned it. Her face lit up. Really? That sounds perfect. We spent the day together, losing ourselves in nature and laughter. For a few hours, we managed to forget about the wedding entirely. But as we were eating lunch, my phone began buzzing relentlessly. Texts from family and friends who were at the ceremony. I tried to ignore them, but they kept coming. Is that about the wedding? Lily asked softly. I nodded, quickly scanning the messages. A photo from my cousin Brenda of Chloe in her gown. She looked breathtaking. Another text read, Chloe keeps looking for you. She seems sad you're not here. And one from my mother. The ceremony was beautiful. Edward's family is very impressive. It's not too late to come to the reception. I put my phone away, determined not to let it sour our day. Just updates, I told Lily. Nothing important. You can tell me, Mom, she said, her eyes full of a wisdom far beyond her years. I know today is hard for you, too. I sighed. You're right, it is. But I'm exactly where I want to be, with the person who matters most. When we got home that evening, my phone was a minefield of missed calls and messages. My mother called the second we walked in. "Clara, how could you do this? Your sister was devastated. Edward's family kept asking where you were." "Mom, we've been over this," I said, weary. "Chloe made her choice. I made mine." "You're being childish and selfish," she snapped. "This was about standing up for Lily," I insisted. The conversation ended with her hanging up on me. In the days that followed, the family fractured. My father tried to play peacemaker but subtly sided with Chloe. My mother's texts were dripping with passive aggression about loyalty and pride. But surprisingly, there was support, too. My usually quiet grandmother called to tell me she was proud of me. "That man has changed your sister," she said. "The Chloe I know would never have shut out Lily. You did the right thing." A few cousins also reached out, admitting they thought the adults-only rule was absurd. Meanwhile, Chloe and Edward were on a lavish 2-week honeymoon in Greece, their social media a curated stream of sunsets, champagne, and designer outfits. There was no mention of the family drama. Friends who attended the wedding described an event that was less a celebration of love and more a display of wealth. "It was stunning," my friend Sarah told me, "but it didn't feel like Chloe. It felt like a corporate event for Edward's family." Another friend overheard Edward's mother call our parents quaint and express surprise that Chloe had turned out so well, considering her background. These stories only confirmed my fears. Chloe was being swallowed by a world where image was everything. As weeks turned into months, the rift remained. Sunday dinners at my parents' house became tense. Awkward affairs I started to avoid. 2 months after the wedding, Chloe and Edward moved into a sprawling mansion across town. I found out from my mother, who gushed about the 6 bedrooms and home theater. "They're having a very exclusive housewarming party," she informed me. "But Stephanie said you're invited, of course." "Will Lily be welcome?" I asked, already knowing the answer. My mother's hesitation was all I needed. "Well, it's an evening cocktail party, dear. Not really a place for a teenager." "Then please tell Chloe thank you, but we'll have to decline." And so the pattern continued, a new broken normal. As the holidays approached, I braced myself. How would we navigate Christmas? Would this be the year the chasm finally became permanent? The Johnson family Christmas had always been a sacred tradition. The entire extended family would cram into my parents' house on Christmas Eve for a massive dinner, a chaotic gift exchange, and a celebration that went late into the night. As December rolled in, I dreaded the inevitable phone call. It came on the first Sunday of the month. My mother's voice was strained. "Your father and I are planning Christmas Eve as usual. We really, really hope you and Lily will come." "Will Chloe and Edward be there?" I asked. "Yes," she admitted. "And Clara, I need you to make an effort. It's Christmas. Can't we please just be a family again?" "Mom, I will be perfectly civil, but I will not put Lily in a position to be rejected again. I need to know she will be treated with respect." "Of course she will be," my mother insisted. But she couldn't promise me that Chloe or Edward would acknowledge the hurt they'd caused. I decided to leave it up to Lily. I found her studying in her room. "Grandma called about Christmas Eve," I started. "Aunt Chloe and Edward will be there. It's your call. We can go or we can create our own tradition. We could go skiing or just have a quiet Christmas here." She was quiet for a long time. "I don't want to cause more drama," she said finally, "but I miss Grandma and Grandpa at Christmas, and I miss Aunt Chloe, even the new, weird version of her. My heart ached for her. What if we go, but we have an escape plan?" I suggested. "If it gets weird or uncomfortable, you give me the signal, and we're out of there. No questions asked." She nodded slowly. "Okay, I think I want to go." In the weeks leading up to Christmas, my anxiety grew, but I also had a plan. I wasn't going to fight fire with fire. I was going to make a statement, not with anger, but with memory. I spent my evenings working on a special project. The night before Christmas Eve, as we wrapped presents, Lily asked, "Mom, do you think Aunt Chloe is happy?" I thought for a moment. I think she's living the life she thought would make her happy. Sometimes people get so caught up in the appearance of things, they forget to check if they're actually happy on the inside. Like when I begged for those expensive jeans all the popular girls had, but they were so uncomfortable I never wore them, she said. I smiled. Exactly like that. That night, I finished my gift for Chloe and Edward. It wasn't expensive or flashy. It was a simple, handcrafted wooden memory box. But inside, it held something more valuable than anything money could buy: our history. Christmas Eve arrived with a light snowfall. As we walked into my parents' house, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Chloe, in a sleek designer dress, and Edward, in a suit, were holding court by the fireplace with Edward's parents, who had also been invited. They greeted us with stiff, polite nods. The seating arrangement at dinner said it all. Lily and I were at the far end of the table, while Edward and his family were in the places of honor next to my parents. Halfway through the meal, Edward stood to make a toast. He announced that he and Chloe had just been accepted into an exclusive country club and had put a deposit on a vacation home in Aspen. "We hope to host many family gatherings there," he said, before adding with a pointed glance in my direction, "Of course, it will mostly be for adult gatherings. That community isn't really set up for children." I felt Lily flinch beside me. I slid my hand over hers under the table, a silent promise of support. After dinner came the gift exchange. It felt less like a celebration and more like a display of wealth. Edward gave Chloe a diamond bracelet. His parents gave them an envelope that clearly contained a large check. Our gifts to them felt small and insignificant in comparison. Finally, it was their turn to open our gift. I handed Chloe the memory box. "It's not much," I said quietly, "but I hope it means something." She lifted the lid. Inside, resting on a bed of velvet, were dozens of photos. The first one was of me at 6 years old holding a swaddled, newborn Chloe. There were pictures of us building sandcastles, of me teaching her to ride a bike, of her at her high school prom. Then came the photos of her with Lily. Chloe holding baby Lily in the hospital, a look of pure love on her face. The two of them covered in flour, baking cookies. Chloe kneeling to tie Lily's shoe on her first day of school. Tucked between the photos were the handmade cards Lily had given her over the years, with their wobbly, childish script, "To the best aunt in the world. You're like a second mom to me." As Chloe sifted through the memories, her hands began to shake. Richard shifted uncomfortably. His parents exchanged disapproving glares. The last item in the box was the wedding invitation. I had mounted it on a piece of cardstock, and underneath I had written in simple script, "Family means no one gets left behind or forgotten." The room was utterly silent. Chloe stared at that last page, her finger tracing the words. When she finally looked up, her eyes were swimming with tears. "Clara," she began, but her voice broke. "Well, that's certainly sentimental," Richard said, his tone dripping with disdain. "Chloe, we should probably get going." But Chloe wasn't listening. She was looking at Lily, who was watching her with a mixture of hope and fear. "Lily," Chloe said softly, her voice thick with emotion, Do you want to look at these with me?" Lily looked at me, and I gave her an encouraging nod. She sat beside her aunt, and as they looked through the box, the old Chloe began to resurface. "Remember this?" she'd say, laughing through her tears. "We tried to bake your mom a birthday cake and set off the smoke alarm." For the first time all night, Lily's face lit up with a genuine smile. Richard's jaw was tight. "Chloe," he said sharply, "it's getting late." Chloe looked up at him, and for the first time I saw a flicker of defiance in her eyes. "Just a few more minutes, Edward." As the night ended, Chloe pulled me aside. "Thank you," she whispered, clutching the box. "You're welcome," I said. "I just wanted to remind you of who we are." Tears streamed down her face. I know I've been so different. His world, it's so demanding. But at what cost? I asked gently. Are you happy, Chloe? Truly happy? She couldn't answer, and that was answer enough. I have everything I thought I wanted, she finally whispered, but seeing those pictures, I don't know. I've made such a mess of things. It's not too late, I told her. Start by being the Chloe in that box again. The one who knew family comes first. As we drove home, Lily asked, Do you think she meant it, Mom? I think so, sweetie, I replied. I think she just needed to be reminded of who she is. That night, as I tucked her in, she looked at me with serious eyes. Thank you for standing up for me, Mom. I know it was hard. You always come first, I said, kissing her forehead. Always. My simple gift hadn't been an attack. It had been a lifeline, a reminder of the love that had been buried under layers of wealth and expectation. It wasn't a perfect fix, but it was a start. And sometimes a start is a miracle. The very next day, Chloe texted me, Can we meet for coffee? Just us. We met at a neutral cafe. She looked exhausted, wearing jeans and a simple sweater, looking more like my sister than she had in years. After we left last night, she began, Richard and I had a terrible fight. He called the memory box emotional manipulation. He said I was letting my low-class family drag me down. What happened? I asked, my heart sinking. I told him I was done. I was done choosing between him and my family. I told him a man who loved me wouldn't ask me to cut out the people who have been there my whole life. I'm staying at a hotel for a few days to think. It was a courageous step. The following week, Chloe took Lily to lunch at their old favorite diner. Lily came home glowing. Aunt Chloe apologized 1,000,000 times, she said. She said she made a huge mistake and should have stood up to Edward from the start. Over the next few months, a fragile healing began. Chloe and Richard went to counseling. He resisted at first, but faced with the real possibility of losing her, he started to make an effort. He actually asked Lily for her opinion on designing a game room in their new house for when you visit. By Easter, things had changed dramatically. We all went to their house in Aspen. Hannah had her own room decorated just for her. One evening, as Lily was teaching Edward's father how to play a video game, Chloe and I stood on the balcony. Thank you, she said quietly, for not giving up on me. That box, it was the wake-up call I needed. I didn't like the person I was becoming. That's what family is for, I said, to hold up a mirror when we need it most. Standing there, watching the sun set over the mountains, I felt a profound sense of peace. My choice to stand up for my daughter had been difficult and lonely, but it had ripple effects I never could have predicted. It forced everyone to grow. Chloe learned that true worth isn't measured in status or wealth. Lily learned the hard but vital lesson of self-respect. And I learned that sometimes the quietest acts of love, a shared memory, a steadfast belief in someone's better nature, can be the most powerful forces for change. Have you ever had to make a difficult choice to protect someone you love? How do you navigate family conflicts when it feels like no one is on your side? I would love to read your stories in the comments below, and if my story resonated with you, please give it a like and subscribe to hear more. Thank you for listening. And remember, sometimes the smallest, most personal gestures can create the biggest shifts in the hearts of those we care about most.